and welcome to Spooky Ass Shit. This is your host, Eric Dwinnells, coming to you with a special introduction to this episode. I was out of town this past weekend. Well, more than the weekend. I was out of town for a few days, and I didn't have time to put together a brand new episode, but I said, that's okay. I've got one in the vaults. So I dipped into the vaults for this one. This one was actually recorded over a year ago. My guest for this episode was Tristyn Sepersky, and you're going to hear us talk about Suicide Squad. It was more current at the time. It had just come out. You'll also hear Tristyn several times reference something being very Jewish or something sounding Jewish. It's not that she's obsessed in a negative way with Judaism. I don't think she specifically says it on the episode, but she herself is Jewish. So that's why she'll bring up certain things here and there. And there is a little bit of a glitch around the 10-minute mark. You'll hear some fuzz, but it goes away pretty quick. So please hang in there. The reason I sat on this episode is because it's very specific. It's about the TV show Kate Allie, which I'm not sure how many of you watched, and even more specifically, it's about their Halloween episode, which I'm not sure how many of you would remember. It is available on YouTube. You can look up Kate Allie Halloween 2 as in like the Roman numerals II or the letter 2, and you can watch it there. But I was a little bit afraid, I don't know, this might be too on the nose. People might not really care. You'll even hear me at the end of the episode talking about how I might not release it as a full episode. But I said, you know what? This is the perfect time for that kind of thing. And I did the episode about Punky Brewster, so I said, well, maybe there's some folks out there who would like to hear about Kate and Allie as well. Not as universally known as Punky Brewster, perhaps, but still an 80s classic. So I hope you will listen and enjoy. And I'll see you guys next week. Now, let's get in our time machine and jump back to just over a year ago with me and Tristyn Sepersky. Welcome to Spooky Ass Shit. I am your host, Eric Dwinnells, and tonight my returning guest co-host is Tristyn Sepersky.
What's up, spooky ass shit, listeners?
How's it going, Tristyn?
It's going, you know.
Well, this is a very special episode. And usually when I say that, it means I'm one of the few people who will care about the subject that we're about to talk about. And I think that is the case today. But I encourage you all to listen to this episode. Anyway, even if you're not familiar with the show or the specific episode that we're going to talk about. Because it is available on YouTube, and you can watch it there. And actually, I think if you listen to the show and then watch it, it'll only increase your enjoyment of the program. Tonight, we are talking about the 1980s sitcom Kate and Allie. Specifically, their Halloween episode, bizarrely titled Halloween 2, even though it's the first, and as far as I know, only Halloween episode that they ever did. The reason we're talking about Kate and Allie and their Halloween episode is because, again, we are dipping back into the classic videotape that my mother started for me. And we think it was started in 1986, and this almost basically confirms it. Because this episode premiered in 1986.
Is this the first thing on the tape?
It's very close to the beginning. It's one of the original things on the tape. So that means this is the 30th anniversary of this episode.
Oh, man.
As well as the 30th anniversary of the tape in general. We've covered a couple things on this tape so far. We've already talked about Garfield's Halloween Adventure. And we talked about the Halloween that almost wasn't.
Which is?
You have to listen to the episode.
But the Halloween that almost wasn't?
It was a Halloween special.
Of?
What do you mean? It was about Dracula.
Oh,
saving
like
Halloween.
It wasn't a TV show.
No, it was a TV special.
Okay.
It was on ABC in 1979. It was even before my time, but they used to show it in repeats a lot. Now, this show is Kate and Allie was definitely an 80s sitcom.
Oh, so 80s.
Yeah, it was about two divorced women who decide that they will move in together and also bring their children and kind of support each other through their divorces. It starred Susan St. James as Kate and Jane Curtin as Allie. Now, Susan St. James, she's done some other stuff, but I think Kate and Allie was her biggest claim to fame. And Jane Curtin, you might remember her from Third Rock from the Sun. I don't remember her name. I didn't really watch that show. But she was the professor that, what's his name was into, John Lithgow.
She also had a bunch of movies.
She's done a ton of movies, and she was also an original cast member on Saturday Night Live. She was one of the original news anchors. Wait, that's not true. First it was Chevy Chase. Then it was Jane Curtin and Dan Aykroyd. Which, by the way, is where the phrase, Jane, you ignorant slut, comes from. I saw something the other day. I know I shouldn't get worked up about this kind of thing, but there was a list of, like, the funniest insults from The Office. And one of them was like, that time
Dwight,
Michael
you ignorant slut.
called Dwight an ignorant slut. That was so funny when he did that. But there was no reference to Saturday Night Live, so they clearly didn't know that that's where it came from. Which is fine. People are young, I guess. But it's just like, it's not even, like, I don't know if it's that, is it that funny if you don't know that that was, like, a reference to something?
I think it's just funny when Michael verbally abuses Dwight, and I think it's funny to just, I think ignorant slut is a funny insult.
I guess so. I don't know. I have ups and downs with that show.
Season 1 is a big down, and then the rest of it is a big up until Michael leaves. Spoiler alert.
No. I think after season 3, I was pretty much done with it. I watched all of it, but anyway. We'll talk about those Halloween episodes sometimes, because they had some Halloween episodes.
Did they ever?
But tonight is about Kate and Allie. So, as I said, Susan St. James is Kate, Jane Curtin is Allie. Now, they have some kids on the show, and we don't really need to get into them too much, but Jane has two kids. She's got Jenny, and she's got who's a daughter, and then a younger son named Chip. Chip looks to be like, I don't know, how would you say Chip was? Like maybe 10, 11, 12,
they
somewhere
both
in there?
looked like between 10 and 12.
No.
Which one was Chip?
Jenny was older.
Which one was Chip?
Chip was the redhead kid.
The short one?
Yeah.
The clown?
Yes.
I'd say 10.
Yeah, so he's about 10. And then the other ones are teenagers. Like, both daughters are teenagers. There's Jenny, who is Jane Curtin's daughter. And then there's Emma, who is Kate's daughter. Wait, am I messing this up? I don't really, like, no one's going to care if I'm wrong, but I don't want to, like, be wrong. Emma is Kate's daughter. Jenny and Chip are Allie's daughter and son.
Okay.
Fair enough. Now, the only thing I really want to point out about the kids is Jenny was played by Allison Smith, who was also in the Broadway company of Annie and would eventually go on to play Annie on Broadway.
Was she...
She wasn't the original Annie.
No.
She
That was
took it
Andrea
over.
McCardle. But, was she Carmen Miranda or was she Bride of Frankenstein?
She was the Bride of Frankenstein.
Okay.
She's talking about in the episode their Halloween costumes, by the way. We'll get to that in a second.
I don't remember names of people. I just remember more.
Well, I should point out, we
holistic.
should point out that Tristyn not only had not seen this episode, but did not seem at all familiar with Kate and Allie.
I knew very little of it and kind of didn't know it existed.
Yeah. We don't need to get into specifics, but you are considerably younger than I am. So you did not grow up watching the show.
I did not.
No.
I grew up watching Friends.
I watched Friends too.
But I grew up watching Friends.
Yeah. I was watching My So-Called Life until the girl I was dating, I put in quotation marks because it was middle school, I think. But she was like, yo, you gotta watch the show Friends. It's so funny. But My So-Called Life was definitely a hipper show.
Well, Jared Leto was on it.
Yeah.
Before he became a fucking lunatic.
Well, he's a big star now.
Well, why?
I don't know. I did not like Suicide Squad.
Well, yeah, like he sends a dead pig to his co-stars and that's somehow good acting.
Getting back to Kate and Allie.
Anyway.
What I wanted to point out. Their daughter, Emma McCardle is played by Ari Meyers, who I had a
Carmen
little
Miranda.
crush on. Yes, she dresses as Carmen Miranda.
She's really pretty.
She is very pretty.
What's her name?
Ari Myers. Myers?
Is she wicked?
Meyerari is her first name.
Is she wicked Jewish?
Oh.
That's a Jewish first name.
Could be.
It is.
She's very pretty.
We all are.
Had a little crush on her. Jewesses?
Jewesses.
Yeah. I like that term. Jewess. I've dated several Jewesses.
Sounds like it would be in a Decemberist song.
I'm just saying, Ari Meyers was hot.
She is hot. Was hot, anyway.
Yeah. So just a little more background on the show itself before we get into the actual Halloween episode. So these two divorced moms move in together into a brownstone in Greenwich Village, New York City, to raise their families together. Throughout the show, they date men, but they're not portrayed as like these weak women who are just out looking for love. But they're not opposed to the idea of getting remarried either.
That's what I just real quick though. Like when we were watching it, that was something that struck out to me immediately. Was that they were both like clearly they were financially stable. They were mentally and emotionally stable. Like they could totally have just gone on about their lives, being these single women, just supporting each other.
Yeah. And they sort of did for a while. I mean, I forget how long the show lasted, maybe 6 or 7 seasons, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I was watching by the end.
Yeah.
But I know they started a catering business. And then one of them got married in the end. And that's like when the show ended.
You know, all that happened on Friends, too.
Yeah. Friends ripped off Kate Allie. So it had a theme song. I pointed this out to you as we were watching it. They always played an instrumental version of the theme song in the opening of the show. And then at the end of the show, they played a version of the theme song with lyrics. And very touching lyrics. Just when you think there's no one around who's caring. I don't remember all the words, but I know it starts that way.
You don't remember all the words? Haven't you been watching this tape for like...
Caring.
Haven't you been watching this tape for...
Along comes a friend who...
like 30 years?
Yeah, I don't pay exact attention to everyone. I know it ends like this. Just when you think you're all by yourself, you're not.
Where was the
That's how it
sha-na-na?
ends. He doesn't actually say sha-na-na. That's just kind of what the music does. Sha-na-na-na. But it's very Family Ties-ish.
Wicked bad.
Because they do literally sha-na-na at the end of Family Ties. So this is an interesting thing about the show, but the show aired on CBS, and CBS, like the bigwigs up in the office, said if you put the show out, everyone's going to assume that Kate and Allie are lesbians. So you need to find a way to make sure that the audience watching at home knows that they're not lesbians.
Heaven forbid. A lesbian on TV.
Yeah. So what they came up with was they ended most episodes with Kate and Allie going into their own separate bedrooms. Like they'd have a little tag to the episode where they'd say something to each other from the doorways of their separate bedrooms. Doesn't actually happen in this episode.
They do. There was a scene in a bedroom. I think it was the bunny's bedroom.
Correct.
Where there is a twin bed.
Yeah.
So.
I guess hinting that
one person goes in that
together.
bed.
Yeah. Or they're having very cozy nights.
Well, they're both slim.
Yeah, you know, I was thinking as I was watching it, Susan St. James is known for being an attractive woman. You know, 80s attractive.
Mm-hmm.
Jane Curtin is not like known for like being a good-looking woman. She's not known for being ugly either, but she actually is. I think if she had better hair,
she looks so British.
Yeah,
she looks like that typical, very thin, very pale, like pasty, blonde British lady.
Yeah, I think she just needed better hair, and she would actually be pretty.
I think she needs some eyeliner.
Well. Look,
jazz up that face a little bit.
I happen to be a little pale myself. I don't pass judgment.
Well,
white is beautiful.
You just said that she needed better hair. So
better hair?
Yeah,
I'm not judging your skin.
Hey, skin is skin, man. But I am saying she looks British with all that pale. So do you.
Now, let's talk about the episode specifically.
Sure.
It opens. Everyone is getting ready for the Greenwich Village Halloween Parade, which is a big annual brouhaha in New York City. Everyone's getting ready except Allie. She's decided she's going to stay back and just hand out candy to the trick-or-treaters.
Seems to me like Allie's sort of the Ross, and Kate is kind of the Phoebe.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Like it's
At least
it's the
Rachel.
odd couple.
At
It's
least
just
a
the odd
Rachel.
couple.
Yeah, she's a little more uptight.
Uptight, boring.
Yeah. She's not
Adult.
bad, though. Like, she just,
Like, there's even a joke that they say in the episode where she talks to the bunny and she's, what's her name? Kate?
The bunny is Kate.
The bunny was
yes, Kate.
The bunny was Kate. Okay, so she's like, they talk about, the kids are like, oh, well, we're grown-ups and we're going out trick-or-treating, and Allie goes, borderline grown-ups, and Kate's in a full bunny costume, like with a little face mask and ears and everything, and she goes, well, what about me? I'm a grown-up, and she goes, you're borderline too, implying that she's the only grown-up in the house. So I think she's pretty
Yeah, she is.
uptight, and
She is a bit.
maybe some tics, and maybe she keeps things too clean, and maybe she thinks that Kate's really lazy, or
Yeah,
it's just type A, type B.
there you go.
Like, and the perils and comedy contained therein.
Sure. So, since you keep describing everyone by their Halloween costumes,
That's all I got.
we should describe them. So, Allie, of course, does not have a Halloween costume yet. Kate has made her grand appearance. She is dressed in a full bunny suit, like you said.
Like
she's
a magician's bunny, like with a vest.
She's a blue bunny wearing some like rainbow pants with suspenders. And her face is exposed, however. And then the kids, the Chip, the son, is like a sort of a clown. It's like a very low effort. He's wearing like a clown
It's just a headpiece.
and then like a nose. And then his friend has like one of those plastic fake axes through his head that he's going to go trick-or-treating with. They're caught with eggs because, they were going to go egg somebody. And the daughters, one of them is dressed in a Carmen Miranda fashion, wearing
like fruit on her head.
like
a midriff shirt.
crop top and a little festive skirt. And then the other daughter is the bride of Frankenstein. That's Jenny, is the bride of Frankenstein.
Well, and she's in what I presume is a couple's outfit.
Yes, because their dates arrive, and one of them is Jason, who is dressed as Dr. Frankenstein. And then there's, I believe his name is Harry. I could be wrong.
I think it is, yeah.
Harry, who is Igor, the hunchback assistant, I suppose, is what he's supposed to be. Now, as I said, for years I watched this tape. So to me, all the people on this episode were main characters on this show. Because I don't really have specific memories of any other episodes of Kate and Allie. I remember that my mom watched it. I remember it being on, but to me, like, this was the main cast. And it turns out, now that I own the DVD of this season, which I'll get to in a little bit, Jason is a recurring character, but even he only appears in like 3 or 4 episodes. One of them a very special episode, which we'll get to. And then
Does he propose?
He proposes something.
Ah!
So-
Oh, is it sex?
We'll get to it.
Oh, it is.
So then there's Harry. I don't think he does appear in another episode. I'm not positive. I could be wrong about that. But
I didn't see a whole lot of star power in Harry.
No, if he's like a date for, if he's a date for my Emma,
For Carmen Miranda?
that's a problem.
Well, way to show up in like a triplet Halloween costume.
Yeah.
And
Well, but they're clearly not dressed. Yeah, that is weird. So
Right?
he's dressed to be the third wheel.
Third wheel. He's dressed as the third wheel.
Yeah. Because if he is there supposed to be like Emma's date, he's not dressed to be with Emma. He's dressed to be with his friend and his date.
With Frankenstein.
That's really weird. I've never thought about that. Good
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
That's fucked up.
He could have. It would have been so easy. He could have just like put on a stupid sombrero and like done a pencil line mustache
Something.
and like worn a
Yeah.
vest.
But then you
something
miss
so
out on all
dumb.
the great Igor style comedy that they lay on you in the episode.
But like,
So we should point out, as soon as Harry walks in, he's basically established as being like the nerdy character who's gonna know. He uses like fancy words and like
he somehow knows how to perform a seance.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a bit, but yeah, he's got like big nerd glasses and everything.
He's totally fine with being the schlemazel and the schlemiel of the group. Like he's there like, well, they're laughing at me, but but they're laughing at me, so I'm in the group.
Yeah.
Better to be in the group than not.
Yeah.
That's Harry.
So anyway, the kids go out trick-or-treating, and the kids go out trick-or-treating, and Kate decides she's going to stay and try to convince Allie to put on a costume and get out to the parade. And, of course, Allie doesn't want to go, but Kate eventually is able to convince her to, we'll go upstairs, we'll cut out some eye holes from an old bed sheet, and you can be a ghost. It's as simple as that. You come out, you have a good time, we'll come back. So she goes. The next scene, we see Kate. Now I'm having trouble keeping the name straight. We see Kate coming into the apartment with Allie behind her in her ghost costume. And she said, sorry to pull you away, but can you just help me get out of this real quick? I got to pee and I just got to get out of this really quick. And the ghost says, sure, but hold on.
Bum, bum, bum.
That is not Allie's voice. It's a man's voice. And he takes off his ghost sheet, revealing that he's a man. Kate freaks out and says, I thought I only invited you in here because I thought you were my friend. And he was like, oh, sorry. And
he thought she wanted some sex.
Then she says, why would you follow me in here? And he says, I wanted to see if it was true what they say about rabbits.
But this is quality radio.
Tristyn, our folio artist, laughed out loud at that joke, by the way. I would like to point out.
It was funny.
Yeah, there's a few. It's a totally watchable show.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's a great.
It's not that, no. Great is not the word.
No, but if it was on,
but
you'd
it's not
be fine
bad.
with it. You'd be like, yeah, it's fine. So anyway.
It's very, very dated.
This guy, come to find out, has a deceased wife. And he tells Kate that now the wife is mad at him because he was flirting with Kate. So Kate doesn't believe the guy or the ghost or whatever, but she just wants this strange man out of her house. So she says, you know what? Maybe she's... and then, so the guy's... His name's Bill, by the way. Bill says his wife won't leave. His wife, whose name is Elaine. So while all this is happening, the real Allie shows back up. And this guy, Bill, is still there. And he's talking about his dead wife and everything. And Kate's
being a creep.
He is being a creep. And Kate's like, yeah, we got to get rid of him. How are we going to do it? They're talking off in the corner. So they decide to say, he's saying that Elaine just refuses to go. And they just say, well, she's probably just mad at you because you were flirting with Kate. So why don't you head on out, and I'm sure she'll run after you, and, all will be right with the world. And he says, yeah, I guess you're right. And then they make some ghost jokes, and he leaves. Now, finally free of this, Kate locks the door behind them. Chain locks the door. And then she goes upstairs to take care of business, which is what she wanted to return home to do in the first place. She goes up to her separate bedroom and sees written on her mirror in lipstick, "You are not alone." There we go. So she calls Allie up. Allie comes running upstairs, and they look at it, and they say, okay, the kids are playing a joke on us. But they look for the kids, and they're not to be found anywhere.
Then she goes and she's like, hey, Allie, look what our kids wrote on the mirror. Ha ha, aren't they funny? And the writing's gone.
That's right. She brings her upstairs. That's right. She didn't see it. She brings her upstairs to see it, and it's gone. And they can't find the kids anywhere. So they start to freak out a little bit upstairs, and then suddenly they hear noises downstairs. And they say, what's that? The kids must be home. But then they remember they chain locked the door. So they run downstairs, and the can opener is running, and the blender is running.
And like lights are turning on and off, and the vacuum cleaner's on by itself,
Yeah.
and
So
paranormal activity is going down.
That's right. And then suddenly the kids, they get all that straightened out, and then the kids come back, but the chain door is still locked, so they have to go open the door for the kids, and it's the girls with their dates, and they're like, oh, what's going on here? And the moms are like, oh, it's just the boys playing jokes on us. We got to find them. And the girls say, we just found them. We just left them on the corner. They've been with us all night, implying that they could not be up to these ghostly pranks. So maybe it is the ghost of Elaine still haunting Kate and Allie.
Dun, 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 dun.
The Jaws theme, huh? All right.
I got a bunch of them.
So basically, we don't need to go shot for the rest of the episode, but some more ghostly shit happens. And it's revealed that the kids are, in fact, pulling this prank, and they're all in on it together. So Chip and his buddy Eddie are still down in the basement. They were never on the street corner. The girls just lied about that. And they've been taking turns, like, pranking the moms all night. And their big master plan is that they're going to hold a seance, and that Chip and Eddie are going to come out of the closet dressed as a ghost, you know, one of those old-fashioned, like, kids on each other's shoulders kind of things, with a sheet over them, and then a scary mask on top. But while they're discussing all this, Allie overhears. So she runs upstairs to Kate and says again, look, it really is the kids. They got us pretty good. Let's get them. So they come up with their own plan to make their own ghost appear during the seance, unbeknownst to the kids. So it will really freak them out. So they do the seance.
And unbeknownst to us, the audience.
And to the audience. So they do the seance, and then, you know, Chip and Eddie appear as their ghost, and Kate and Allie pretend to freak out. And then Allie pretends like she's going into a trance of her own and calling forth her own spirit. And everyone's like, what's going on? What's going on here? Then a ghost comes out of the closet, which actually looks like a female vampire.
Looks like Elvira.
Yeah, well, more like Vampira, but
Whatever.
the original Elvira.
Fine.
And she just kind of comes out and does like zombie arms and then goes back into the closet.
Also, mind you, this Vampira wannabe is dressed in the exact same costume as their upstairs neighbor who we met earlier in the episode.
That's right. She came trick-or-treating with her kids. So then the teenagers are freaking out, and Chip and Eddie poke their head out and say, is it safe to come out? Is the ghost gone? Like the real ghost? And that's when Kate and Allie say, yes, you can come out. We just played a joke on you. Ha ha. You thought you got us, but we got you. And then they say, come on, Mrs. Greenlee, you can come on out now. You did a great job. And everyone's like, ha ha, very funny, good job. And then the doorbell rings. Kate goes to answer it, and who's at the door? Mrs. Greenlee.
Oh.
How did she get out of the closet and to the front door? And she says, you let me in the closet, but when I was waiting for you guys to come back upstairs, I remembered my door was unlocked, so I ran upstairs to lock it, but then I came down here, and this door was locked, so I couldn't get back to the closet, and I'm just really sorry I ruined your whole plan.
So it was not her.
So who was in the closet? Well, it turns out at that point, the door opens and closes by itself. And then a few moments later, Bill comes back and says, oh, Elaine wanted me to come back here and let you guys know she had a hell of a time. What's that, honey? Oh, sorry. Poor choice of words. See, because hell, because she's dead.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And that's essentially where the episode ends. Kate and Allie are debating with each other, like, no, I think you did it. No, I think you did it. And, we're led to believe that neither one of them did it. So much so that Elaine gets her own credit.
She does. It's a see-through.
She gets her own spooky credit.
Spooky credit.
A ghostly credit at the end of the episode.
If you will.
Yeah. And I also want to talk about the guy that plays Jason. Because like I said, he does appear. Hot. Is he?
I think so.
He is wearing Dr. Frankenstein makeup, so it's
without
a little
all that
hard
crap,
to tell.
he'd be hot.
Yeah. But he looks and seems like a guy you would see a lot in 80's things. And he has done a lot of work over the years. I looked at his IMDb earlier. But I don't think he's like... He's been in some soap operas.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think he's like really well known for much.
I don't know that most people who weren't Jane Curtin or Susan St. James.
His name is Ricky Paul Golden, by the way. But it's Goldin.
Nope.
Played Jason Crawford.
I feel like most people on this show have a very, very high level of popularity amongst a very distinct group of people.
Like me.
Thank you.
I'd be happy to meet most of these people. Especially Ari. What's up, girl?
Maybe she's listening.
Yeah. She left the show to go to Yale. It's true.
Fucking.
Yeah. Now she does a lot of voiceover work, it looks like.
That's a pretty Jewish thing to do.
Hmm.
Go to Yale.
So I do have this on the VHS, but it's in a little bit of rough shape. So we watched it on DVD. Now, I know you're probably all thinking, but Eric, I've been trying to get Kate Allie on DVD for years. And they've only ever released the first season in the United States. How did you get a hold of the fourth season on DVD? I know that's what you're all thinking. Well, I discovered that the fourth season was available in Canada. And when I was trying to remaster my mom's VHS collection and put it on DVD, I tried to track down each of these things separately in a digital format, which I could then copy and create, basically, a pure digital copy of the VHS, which never quite worked out because the copies of the digitals turned... Now I could probably do it pretty well.
Yeah.
I'll have to try again. But I ordered it from Canada because it has not. They only ever released the first season in the United States. So all those poor diehard Kate and Allie fans, which I can't even claim to be, but I am a fan of this one particular episode. For a long time, I would declare this the best Halloween episode of a sitcom. And if I'm being honest, that is not true. Because I know
not at all.
People throw in episodes of Roseanne. I guess The Simpsons. I don't know if I guess you wouldn't really count that as a sitcom, but
Yeah, you would.
well, it depends.
You absolutely would.
And I don't know if it's fair to judge that in the same category as Roseanne, because Roseanne is still based in some sort of reality. Plus, like, there's you can't just draw whatever you want, you know. So, you know.
So what? I can't say Rocko's Modern Life had a really good Halloween episode either.
No, they still have good Halloween episodes. I'm not sure it's fair to, like, you could put The Simpsons against Rocko's Modern Life, but I'm not sure you could put The Simpsons against Roseanne.
I don't know, because The Simpsons, people die. People die
I
and
know,
never
but
come
I'm saying
back.
it's not a sitcom.
I think it is.
It's an animated show.
It's an animated sitcom.
Yes, but it's a separate beast. It's a separate
I
thing.
don't think so.
All right, well, world, you let us know what you think out there. spookyassshit@gmail.com.
Vote, is The Simpsons situational comedy?
No, it is situational comedy.
Well, there you go.
But it's not, you can't, what I'm saying is you can't, if you're comparing it like episode for episode, especially a Halloween episode, which tends to be like a fantasy kind of thing, where in an animation, you can literally do whatever you want. The world is whatever you want it to be, compared to a live action show.
Anything in a live action show is anything that you want it to be. It's just that they didn't want to pay the money to do it.
No, especially not in the 80s.
Ugh. 80s schmadies.
No, come on. Roseanne started in the 80s. Anyway.
The Simpsons is a sitcom.
It's an animated sitcom, which is different than a regular sitcom.
It's different, but it's the same. Anyway. It's in the same Emmy category.
Yeah. Let me tell you something, lady. Tristyn runs all these obstacle races, and she was a personal trainer and everything. Do you think, if you looked at the two of us, you would know which one is the television expert between the two of us? And it ain't you, sister. All right? That's all I'm saying.
That was...
Logic.
That was just insulting to both of us, but also complimentary to both of us.
Hey, I'm just telling it like it is. So anyway.
Proceed.
I don't know how good this episode was. I might not even use it, to be honest with you, because most people aren't going to know this episode. But because it was on the VHS tape, I felt like I had to cover it. And I wanted to cover it.
Mm-hmm.
And whether it ends up as a regular episode or it ends up as a YouTube special, who knows? But I really do enjoy this episode. I think it's highly watchable. I'm not going to tell you it's the greatest Halloween episode, but it does have everything that you want.
It's definitely watchable.
It does have everything that you want from a Halloween episode.
Mm-hmm.
It's got pranks, which, by the way, it's super common in sitcoms that, like, oh, Halloween's a time for pranking. But in real life, I mean, like, yes, there's like Cabbage Night or whatever.
What?
That's what they called it. I don't know why.
The night before Halloween?
The night before Halloween.
Oh, oh God, what was
Devil's
that called?
Night.
Something.
Cabbage Night. We called it Cabbage Night. That was the night where you'd go out and do like the, egging and then toilet papering and all that stuff.
See, I grew up in a very, 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 very small town where everybody is upper middle class and white.
Yeah.
So we didn't do any of that shit.
No, we did stuff. We did something called forking too, and it wasn't
Forking?
Yeah, and actually, it wasn't usually like a mean-spirited prank. It was actually kind of a sign of respect most of the time. But you would fork
somebody's
somebody's
You didn't fork anyone
yard.
you didn't like.
Yeah.
Ah.
You'd take plastic forks and arrange them like in somebody's yard. Usually as a word or in a pattern. Sometimes just randomly. But
that's actually kind of funny and not difficult to clean up.
No. But I had a girlfriend who, in cahoots with a frequent guest on this very podcast, Jenny Blades, forked and TP'd my house. Which, again, sounds a little mean, but it's actually it was kind of a sign of respect. But the toilet paper was not cool.
I think the sign of a good prank is if someone pranks me and it's not like embarrassing or humiliating in a widespread way or difficult to clean up.
Yeah.
It's a good prank.
Yeah.
But if something is like humiliating or embarrassing in a widespread way, or if there's fucking broken eggs involved.
Yeah, that's not cool.
Like toilet paper,
but that's supposed
takes
to be
forever.
Mean.
Like
I don't think she realized what the toilet paper was. Like I don't think she realized what the point
yeah.
of TPing somebody's house was. I think they just thought like you just take it down. But if it gets wet at all, you're in trouble.
If it gets and it's October 31st. It rains.
Yeah.
And then it's cold.
But anyway, my point about the pranking is like those kind of pranks I'm aware of on Halloween, but the ones where like people are like going out of their way to scare somebody and stuff like that, like that does happen, but I wouldn't say that's like a major association for Halloween. And yet on sitcoms, it almost always is.
That there's like 5 friends who have a conspiracy to like scare this one particular person, and they have a very sophisticated prank.
even on Kate Allie, that happened.
Mm-hmm.
Another
they
thing
involved a 10-year-old in this plan, and somehow he kept his trap shut.
Yeah. And another thing you always want to see is that most, if not all, the main characters are in some form of Halloween costume.
Mm-hmm.
Which you get that too.
You also see a bunch of white people, which we did see.
Yeah.
They were all white. And
you hope for a little bit of supernatural element mixed in. Not always, doesn't always happen, but on Kate Allie, it happened.
Elaine was there. She had her own credit.
So this was a good episode of Kate Allie, a good Halloween episode of a sitcom. Again, was it the greatest Halloween episode of a sitcom ever? No.
It's very,
Do I love it mostly for nostalgic reasons because it happened to be on this tape? Yes.
It's very, very dated. Like it's
very
so
80s.
80s it hurts.
But like you look at it and you see the decorations, and if you grew up during the 70s or 80s, you're going to see some of these decorations and be like, we had that.
Oh, I had some of that shit in my house.
Yeah.
Like the skeleton with the movable joints.
Yeah.
And the joints were in brackets and you could like pose him like he was dancing. Yeah, we had that.
And they had
shit.
like the witch and the pumpkin that was kind of dressed like a patched up pimp.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's just a lot of things that you will recognize and be like, oh yeah.
I had the same exact pumpkin that she was handing out candy from.
Yeah. The only thing they were missing were those crepe paper ghosts that you kind of like organed open.
Oh, yep.
Accordioned open. I mean.
And the like spider web.
Yeah.
Stuff for trees.
Yeah.
That shit takes forever to get down.
Yes. There was
takes forever
something
to
else.
put up too. In a way that looks good.
Oh, I remember what I want to talk about. So the very special episode. So again, I grew up for years watching only this episode of Kate Allie. So I didn't know what happened before and I didn't know what happened after.
Mm-hmm.
But the arc of Jason's story.
Oh boy, Jason.
In the
secret star.
The first time he appears, he's the new kid in school. And
is he the hot new kid in school?
No, he's like the annoying new kid in school.
Oh, weird.
But he's annoying because he's super into Emma.
Bride of Frankenstein?
Nope. Carmen Miranda.
Ooh.
He's super into her, and he spends the whole episode trying to get her to say yes to going on a date with him. And she's like literally the first girl that he meets at the school. And honestly, Emma's kind of a bitch to him. Like, he was annoyingly persistent, and he should have taken a hint. But she kind of started it off like on a bad foot too.
I mean,
so Jenny,
she has no obligation to say yes to this kid, and he should take the first no and gone away.
Right, but even I'm saying from the get-go, she was a little bit standoffish. But he should have taken a hint. But he ends up trying to enlist the help of Jenny, Bride of Frankenstein, to like, hey, what's going on? What's going on with her? And that's what happens.
Oh
because
my God.
Emma finally agrees to go out with him, but by that point, he's already got a date with Jenny.
Emma made the right choice, maybe.
So then the next time we see Jason, I believe, is in the Halloween episode.
Uh-huh.
But then the very next episode.
The one after the Halloween episode?
Yeah, is a very special episode.
Oh, shit.
Where Jason pressures Jenny to have intercourse.
Oh, shit. What does she do?
I don't want to spoil it. You're going to have to track down the DVDs from Canada, which are out of print,
No,
by the way.
I'm just going to Google it.
That's what Jason ended up doing, too, that night. He Googled it because Jenny did not put out.
Good girl. Although I might have.
Then she went home and slept with Emma.
Oh.
I'm just kidding. But they did have a heart-to-heart in bed.
Ah.
So who knows what happened after the credits started to roll.
What happens in Jason? What's the end of Jason?
I think that is the end of Jason, if I remember correctly.
Oh, shit. Did they break up?
I don't think they full on, like, I don't know if they necessarily, like, go into
Or do they not address
up.
it?
I think they just don't. But it was a very special episode. Not as special as the Different Strokes classic child molester episode.
Oh, I thought you were going to say a different thing.
Wow, which one? What could be more?
What was that episode what was that episode of that show where the guy's talking to his uncle or his father, and they're both black guys, and it's like an 80's show, and he's saying like, what if her body's saying yes and but her mouth is saying no? Which do you listen to? And the older guy is like, you listen to her mouth. You don't do anything if she says no. That's it. That's all. No means no, and you get the fuck out of there.
I don't know.
There's some episode, and it's from like 1983. And it's cited, rape culture has become a much more pervasively discussed aspect of society. And that was one of the most commonly cited screenshots. That's like this was discussed in 1983. No one fucking listened.
You can reach out by checking us out at spookyassshit.com or spookyas if you are the prudish iTunes type. There you can find pictures from this episode and each and every other episode of the show. You can also find links to all of our social media, facebook.com/spookyas, and then at spookyasshit for both Instagram and the Twitter, which I've got to get better at using. I don't know, I'm just not good with Twitter.
Tweet that shit.
Until next time.
Good night, listeners.
And you know what? Before we say goodnight.
Oh, okay.
If you send me an email and tell me what your favorite Halloween episode of a sitcom or not even. I won't even make it that. Okay, whatever it may be, whether it's a sitcom, an animation,
a television program,
a drama. Yes, as long as it was a episodic television program. Right in
with a specific Halloween episode.
Let me know what your Halloween episode was. A lot of people tell me all the time, Buffy the Vampire Slayer had really good Halloween episodes.
Buffy,
I've never seen Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Well, Buffy ironically had very good Halloween episodes because supernatural activity on the Hellmouth quiets on Halloween night. It's like their night off. Which is funny because every other night of the year, it's like that's the night that's, Halloween is supposed to be like a night of mayhem and chaos and whatever. But in the Buffyverse, it's supposed to be very, very calm. And then, of course, there's like one demon or like one piece of shit fucking ghost or something who doesn't want to, or like some dipshit fraternity like summons a demon. Actually, they're right. Whoever told you that. Buffy has pretty good Halloween episodes.
All right, I'll have to check them out.
Well, you should check out the entire show.
Yeah.
It won't really make sense if you don't.
All right, well, I'm going to go watch some Buffy.
Do it.
In the meantime, don't be afraid.
Are all the things you've got. Just when you think you're all by yourself, you're not.